Hi, corruption. Yes, this one, famous. Everywhere I go, it's always about a big fish. So, like it or not, I know we've been catching ikan bilis and, sardines or whatever it is, but it's still fish. It's just not it's just not the fish that you all anticipate. I give you the scenario. I'm not political, so I share the same views as 3/4 of all of you. There are certain public figures who we deem to be corrupt, who we deem to be on the take. You know what? That's perception. I have that, you have that. Let's not argue about that. But the problem is, the MACC, people actually talk about it, and people actually report it, and the authorities actually start investigation. Now, I give you all this scenario. If you guys are on the take, whichever company you guys are in, if you guys are on the take, and you accept bribery, are you all, as individuals, stupid enough to let yourself get caught? Obviously not, right? So, likewise, corruption, for that matter, we have to follow a trail of evidence. Now, if the evidence takes us somewhere else, we go somewhere else. It's all, people ask, this person is on the take. Why is he not convicted? He's not convicted because the evidence trail goes somewhere else. I have, and this is a weekly affair, you all know Nadis Warren, right? Citizen Nadis. I get weekly emails from him, okay? Every week, without fail, he will send me emails about why is there no conviction of this individual? Why is this agency not being remanded? But the thing is that we try, but unfortunately, the trail goes cold, or the evidence are not there. So what can MACC do? What can certain authorities do? Nothing but say, no case, and that's it. That's the reality of it, and we must accept that. I don't think MACC goes out and say, oh, that's a big fish, but let's fish in this pond instead. I don't think, because for them, it's also good to nab one big fish and say, here, look at my angling skills today. Instead of taking a net and just going and fish guppy. So, I think give them a chance and give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's why we have actually launched the Whistleblower Protection Act. The Whistleblower Protection Act solely protects all those who give evidence. And whatever you do, your identity is protected up to the point where the individual that you reported on is charged. Ranking wise, I know that there are a lot of there are a lot of misunderstanding about rankings. I know newspapers or even the online portals give very differing numbers. Let me try and give you all a clear idea of how CPI or even the corruption GCB, like Global Corruption Barometer, is actually measured. Now, under the TI survey, right? For example, Malaysia was ranked 56, 4.5 in 2009, but 4.4 in 2010. And Global Corruption Barometer, we improved in terms of our fight against corruption from 28% to 48%. Now, this jump again is not a manipulation. This data was not manipulated by us. This data was derived from these 6 surveys, from these 6 constituent surveys. Now, if you look at the 6 surveys, only the top 3 has comparative study between where we were 2 years ago and where we were after that. Okay, for example, the IMD World Competitiveness Report, we ranked, the score was 5.2, and we improved 6 to 6.3 within the first 2 years. Similarly, the BARC report, again we improved by a single digit, 1. And the WEF report, and again we improved, 4.6. So when Dato Sri Idris was asked this question in a press conference, he said that we improved. But of course, there are the skeptical ones who said, of course not. You know, corruption is still rife. There's still no evidence of big fish. But in terms of the global perception, and these are not ranked by, or this is not appointed by us. Yeah, all these reports are not generated by us. They're generated by Transparency International. You can't actually go to them and say, oh, we want these people to do a survey for us. These people do independent surveys. Who they interview or who they get together in a room, we have no idea. But this is what comes out in the report now. So 4, 5, and 6. Now, if you look at 4, 5, and 6, there is no comparative study. For the EIU report, there were no data from previous years. So they only did 1 and 3 and then we scored 3.3. Global Insights, again, there was no comparative data, you know. So when you want to measure something, you need to measure based on baseline. When you don't have baseline, how do you know whether you're good or you're bad? Cannot, impossible. Yeah. So in terms of measuring corruption, in terms of measuring the fight against corruption, I think we are on the right track. We are not doing great, but we are at least, in global perception, we are at least doing something right by implementing Whistleblower Act, by making sure that government contracts are now made available for the public to view. Yeah. So how does the whole entire GTP machine work? Now, last year, until I think October, the Prime Minister was actually chairing what we call delivery task force meetings. But before we get there, the bigger wheel that you see, that you see is the National Key Result Area Frontline. Now these are the people, these are the civil servants, these are 1.2 million civil servants that actually does the job with PEMANDU. Yeah? So the GTP is not implemented by PEMANDU, it's implemented by 1.2 million civil servants. Yeah? They do all the hard work, they make sure that these are the targets. They just, saya yang menurut perintah, and they just get it done. Okay? Then, we have ministerial meetings, with the Ministry and Delivery Management Office. DMO stands for Delivery Management Office. Delivery Management Office actually comes from the ministry themselves. Yeah? And NGOs as well as agencies. So they make up a team to actually make sure that the 1.2 million civil service does the job. Yeah? So if they have any roadblocks, they come on a weekly basis. Yeah? Each NKRA come on a weekly basis to PEMANDU for problem-solving meetings. At these problem-solving meetings, now PEMANDU will actually remove roadblocks where within our authority, where it is within our limited authority. Yeah? And this is chaired by Dato Sri Idris Jalan. Yeah? So if the roadblocks are too big, are too great, for example, this requires policy changes, or this requires amendments to certain laws or certain guidelines. Please don't misunderstand. My boss, Dato Sri Idris, is not God. So he does not have a magic wand that says, done. Okay? Certain things still need to go up higher up. So where do we go? We go to the highest authority. He was previously the PM, but now it's DPM. Now, before you go and think, oh, GTP not important anymore, that's why it's now DPM. No. PM now, by virtue of his background as the Ministry of Finance, is now overseeing 12 NKEAs under the ETP. So his focus is now strictly on the Economic Transformation Program. And DPM now actually chairs the whole entire GTP initiative, right? Because the hard work has already begun. We have created ripple effect. So his job is to make sure that going into our second year, the targets remain met. Yeah. So what is the connection between the ETP and the GTP? What are they? Basically, one spends money and one makes money. Yeah. So this is really it. Now, to ensure that there are roads, to ensure the pipes don't come out air, we need money. So where do we generate the money? We need to grow the economy. We need to increase revenue. Yeah. And we need to by doing that, we need to increase job and the income. You know, ETP premise is about increasing the GNI to 50,000 ringgit per capita, and also to enhance jobs. Yeah. And we must do this in tandem. It cannot be done, oh, let's do this first and then do that second, because we only got 9 years left. No, 8 left. Let's look at 8 years. We only 8 years left to be a developed country, and time is running out. Yeah. Subsidy is a different topic altogether, so I won't touch that. I just want to give you all an example. Going into 2011, now because of all the results that you've seen, and also the results that are inside the annual report, a lot of you are thinking, where do we go from here? Can you better the results? You see, the reality of the GTT is that when we came in within the first year, right, the civil service actually achieved 120% of their target. And they did so by using only 79% of their budget. First time ever, okay? Because previously, if you don't spend budget that's allocated to you in the ministry, you have failed. This time around, we are saying, do more, spend less. And they've done that in the first year of the GTP. Yeah? So, I think they should be commended now. People say, I don't see changes, but the changes are happening. People don't, a lot of us are still skeptical about it, but I think by and large, we are making this transformation happen. Yeah? I give you an example, going to 2011, because we have set, for example, my friend here, he's exceeded his target by, we call him Mr. 167%, because he's exceeded his target by 167%. How is he going to better this? Does this mean that if crime rate dropped by 34%, has he failed? Yeah. One scenario when I was in East Malaysia with Dato Sri Idris, in a particular project, the target was to actually deliver 48% flood mitigation projects, and 48 flood mitigation projects. That was the target, 48. But what happened was they could only deliver 42, and from impacting 2 million people, they only impacted 1.5. So are we going to sit down there and say, you have failed? We shouldn't take that approach. That's what I'm trying to say. We should say that, because of the GDP, 1.5 million people now don't have to live with the fear of their homes being flooded. But a lot more can still be done. And that's what the GTP is all about. We are looking for new things to do. And I think all of us, even in this room and people out there, they have a role to play. Yeah? The general public still has to come forth, to tell us about how we can improve things, not what is wrong with the country. Yeah, we all know what's wrong with the country, but how do we improve things? Yeah. So I've got a note here to say, please wrap up. So I'm going to wrap up now. Okay. Okay. So thank you for your kind attention. I'm sorry if I went on a bit, but I'm really passionate about this. I come from the private sector, right? So I take this job as a national service. This is my national service because there wasn't any national service when I was in school. Yeah. So thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Alex. Next up we have Eugene, who's the Director for Crime NKRA in PEMANDU. Eugene probably should take about 10 to 12 minutes max, so you guys can ask as many questions as you want later after this. So yeah, on to Eugene.